first learned about CR, about caloric restriction, in 1979 in a book that I read called Pro-Longevity. But it sounded rather, it wasn't really, as far as I knew, it wasn't being practiced by people. But then in, I guess, 1986, when Dr. Walford's first book came out, The 120-Year Diet, I bought it and was certainly interested in it, tried to incorporate a few of the ideas in the book into my lifestyle. And still, I didn't move toward practicing CR. It sounded drastic, it sounded hard to carry out, and I wasn't sure what the long-term effects would be. I was worried, for instance, about my weight getting down too low and not having enough fat to get through a serious illness. So in 2003, August of 2003, I decided that I was going to try to see if I could lose weight to bring down my blood pressure. I was thinking that I weighed 122 pounds when Ruth and I were married, and I decided that maybe it would help to, if I brought my weight down, it might pull my blood pressure back toward the levels it had shown when I was married and when I was a college student. So by February, I'd gotten my weight down to something like 132 pounds, and my family physician called me in for the annual physical. When the blood work came back, my already decent HDL levels had jumped 40%, from 51 up to 71. My total cholesterol had dropped about 8%. Triglycerides were 56. Fasting blood sugar was 81. And both I and my doctor were delighted with the results.
What was the weight before? I think you said 120.
My weight before I started was about 162. Okay. And I brought it at the time that he called me in for the physical. I weighed probably 132. I wasn't yet down to maintenance weight, so hopefully it's a little better now. Anyway, he didn't call for any more physicals. Well, he didn't call for any more blood work. He did check my CBC and blood sugar, and my blood sugar the following August, fasting glucose, was 78, which was a little bit better. Okay, so about a week ago Wednesday, I went in for blood work to see if the blood lipid profile in particular is still as good as it was, and also what my fasting glucose is. There's some other numbers I'd like to know, but that's a cheap, easy way to get some answers. And I still don't have the numbers back. I'd hope to have them in time for this conference, but so far they haven't shown up on my doorstep. Now, in terms of how difficult it was to do and what I had to go through to accomplish it, I haven't found it hard at all. I haven't found it, I mean, at 162 pounds, I had to diet. I can eat, I like food as much as anyone. I can eat a whole pizza at a sitting, or half a gallon of Breyer's butter pecan ice cream at one swipe. I don't dare keep it in the house because I'm a butter pecanaholic. But the point is, I'm not finding it all, I haven't found it at all difficult to stay on CR. And really, I don't get hungry. I'm questioning now whether maybe I should get hungry sometimes, whether that might enhance the effects of CR. But my dietary patterns, I worked up a few ploys to help me through the day, and one was to make green tea with unsweetened dark chocolate in it, baking chocolate, and Splenda. I sweeten it with Splenda, and I add a little bit of lemon juice to it. And that's good, and it satisfies my need for chocolate. And then maybe I'll gnaw on something, like maybe I'll eat a raisin every 15 or 20 minutes, and there's a lot of flavor in it, and not very many calories. And I try to get some salmon, some canned salmon, wild a wild Alaska canned salmon. I'll try to get a serving of it every day or so, every couple of days anyway. And then a lot of vegetables, a lot of broccoli, a lot of carrots, cauliflower, squash, a little bit of sweet potato. Well, anyway, that's, I spread it out over the day, and I don't get hungry, and my energy levels are high at all times. Mood is elevated. I'm very laid back. Don't have any trouble sleeping. What a few of the, one of the key, well, among the key benefits was I haven't had a cold or the flu or a stomach bug in 3 years, since, well, 2.5 years since I started this. And also, I had actinic keratoses cropping up with kind of frightening frequency on the top of my head.
What is that? Is that a rash? Or?
No, it's a precancerous growth. It's a scaly patch. And probably you can go through your whole life, well, for 20 or 30 years, and it won't turn malignant, but there is that chance. So if you get them, a dermatologist will freeze them off. And that's okay, he can freeze them off, but these were coming with distressing regularity. And from the time I went on calorie restriction until now, no more keratoses. They disappeared, which is consistent with the idea that CR triggers apoptosis of cells and also a DNA repair of precancer cells. If it's doing that there, hopefully it's doing that everywhere else. So that's another improvement. One of the gains was that the ratio of my total cholesterol to HDL is down at a level at which probably it's cleaning out arteries. No one in the Framingham study, among the nearly 10,000 test subjects who have been, well, subjects who have been followed over the years, no one with a ratio of total cholesterol to HDL of 2.5 to 1 or lower has ever had a heart attack. So that sounds pretty good. Something else, let's see, what else here? Some changes I haven't noticed are, I haven't noticed my visual accommodation improving. It's no better than it was. I don't wear glasses except for reading, but I do need the same reading glasses. What else here?
Do you count calories?
No, I have. Oh, I know what I need to say. I started to run again. I'd been afraid to run because I was worried about hips and knees. You hear about this, you know, that people wear out their hips and their knees. Runners wear out their hips and knees. Anyway, I started running, and it works great. I have no arthritis, no aches, no pains. And I think that's unusual at my age, which is 76, on my way to 77 in July. So.
Did you have pains before you started CR?
Not really. But I did have some kind of stiffness maybe in my right knee, and I was thinking to myself, maybe this is the beginning of arthritis in that knee. Yeah, it's gone. So, I mean, there's just nothing. There's just no problems there at all, and of any kind. Something else, and this is something that I've noticed at the conferences, and that is that for those who have been on CR for an extended period of time, like 10 years or 15 years, it looks as though they've been frozen in time. They are so young looking. It's unbelievable, just unreal how old they are versus how young they look. I won't mention names. I probably shouldn't mention names, but there was one fellow there today, or at this conference, who looks 31, 32, 33. He's 49. He's almost 50. The fellow with whom I ate supper is a dead ringer for a college undergraduate, and he's hobnobbing with college undergraduates. He's 38, and you would swear he's 22, 24, 25. Michael Ray looks, in my opinion, 22, 23. Skin tone, no wrinkles. Something else I believe. I think that the discoveries that the Washington University Group research team has made regarding what CR does for the 18 volunteers whom they investigated, I think that is earth-shaking news. The idea that you can boost HDL levels by 55%, very difficult to raise HDL levels. It's kind of a holy grail right now of cardiovascular research, well, of drug development for statins, for example, or for anything that niacin will raise HDL levels, but there are a lot of side effects. But the Washington University group saw an HDL rise of 54.7%. And I think their total cholesterol dropped about 20%, and they also have this 2.5 to 1 ratio of total cholesterol to HDL. And then there's the fact that the thickness of the intima of the carotid arteries, and I presume the other arteries in the body, but the carotid arteries was only 60% that of the match control group. And that's striking. And also at the last conference, at the third Calorie Restriction Conference, Dr. Fontana showed a view graph. And on the left side, he had an ultrasound scan of the carotid artery, of a 77-year-old runner. On the right side, he had the carotid artery, the ultrasound scan of the carotid artery of the 82-year-old who was the oldest member subject in the Washington University study. The 82-year-old's arteries were clear, no plaque.
He was on CR?
He was on CR. He'd been on CR, 6, 8, 10, 15 years. On the other side, the runner had a lot of plaque. Even though he was a runner and, very good physical shape, nevertheless, there was a lot of plaque there. And that was dramatic. And I think it would be interesting to run ultrasound scans on other arteries in the body, on the arteries like, let's see, I think there's an abdominal artery that's commonly scanned, and something else. The 3 arteries I know that are typically scanned when you're looking for plaque with ultrasounds that are near enough to the surface that you can use ultrasound techniques to investigate them. And I think it would be interesting to see if the CR members all have clear arteries. But I think that when word gets out, when the public realizes that, it's not only that that the CR members are doing so well, it's also the fact that a sizable fraction of the CR subjects have family histories of coronary artery disease, of cancer, of lethal familial diseases, and they have taken up CR in order to try to stave off these attacks, and so far that's worked. And I could just see a lot of people trying this, and as I say, I'm not having any trouble with it at all. I've got a diet as much at 162 pounds as I do at 124 pounds, and I don't get any hungrier. In fact, I don't get as hungry. I don't get as hungry now. If I start to eat, when I was weighing 162 pounds and I would eat something, I was hungry right away. As soon as I got up from dinner, I would stuff myself, and I was still hungry. And part of that may have to do with different nutrients. Part of it may be habit. I don't know what all is going on. Part of it may be getting off the sugar-starch roller coaster. But I would stay on. I would stay on CR if I found no benefits. The jury is still out about whether or not it will extend human life, and if so, how much. But certainly it will extend my life. I'm sure that the average lifespan is going to improve. I'm sure the latest discoveries, the latest discovery by the Washington University group is that the diastolic function of the heart, which is a function of the elasticity of the heart wall, that has improved by about 15 years. That's what Dr. Fontana has been quoted saying. And it may be that we talked this afternoon about the possibility of checking vital capacity, which they're getting ready to try, creatinine clearance. And he said that would be difficult because it's a pretty elaborate process of to actually measure creatinine clearance. But that's another biomarker that tends to go only down with aging. And it might be that that has either flattened out for CR, for Crohn's, or it has started back up and then will fall again later. Eventually it will go down. But, and that's another attractive feature about CR. It delays aging. It keeps people young longer. And that's what you want. That's also a characteristic of centenarians, that they tend to be very young looking and physiologically very young until along toward the end. In most cases they go like this. That's how we all want to die in the middle of the night in our sleep and not know what happened. But anyway, that's kind of my story. My name is Bob Seitz, and I'm 76. I'll be 77 in 3 months. And I'm speaking to you from the 4th Calorie Restriction Society Conference in Tucson, Arizona in April 2006.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'7". I weigh about 124 pounds. I have a body mass index of about 19 and a half. And it has fluctuated a little. I mean, it really depends on how much liquid you retain in the morning. But my best weight is 124.